إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله جل في العلا وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة كل ضلالة في النار. As we get a little reminder on Saturday, September the 29th, 5:10 p.m., 2018 of the Gregorian calendar, which also coincides with, I think, tonight will be the 19th of Muharram, or what's left of this day, which is the 18th, but after Maghrib will be the 19th of Muharram, Aam 1440 al-Hijrah. The 18th of Muharram, 1440 after the Hijrah or the migration of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam. As we say, and we remind each other, just a little reminder, like we said, of lectures is not really my forte all the time. But like we said, reminders is of benefit, especially in regards to places that used to be used as a harb, as a place of war for the people of Sunnah. Then it turns into a base for the people of Sunnah. Because that is a nusrah, and that is a victory for anywhere that the people of the Sunnah, the people of the truth, occupy a place where before that they were people who used to occupy, who were muharibun, people who were making war. The main thing, ya ma'ashar ikhwan, these days of time, especially in these trying times that we live in, it's not about, like we said, and I've said this in a lot of lectures, it's not about who's here in front of us now. It's where you will be at tomorrow. Will you be firm upon the Sunnah later? Will you still be upon this istiqamah tomorrow? Because like we said, and I'm sure even Jalil has seen since the 90s, you see faces come and go. You've seen a lot of faces come, who's in front of us right now, then years from now they're gone. Either one of three things happened. Either they left the fold of Islam, or their istiqamah became da'ifa jiddan, but their uprightness became extremely weak. They back out on the street again. Or they deviated with some of the deviant sects. So one of the three things you see that happens to a lot of our brothers and sisters. Like you said, number one, they either apostate totally. They left the fold of Islam, left it, gone. Or, like we said, ضَعُفَ إِسْتِقَامَتُهُمْ or ضَعُفَ تَدَيُّنُهُمْ, where their religion became extremely weak. They're back out in the street, even though they might say I'm Muslim, but I think all of us know what we're talking about when we say that the person's uprightness has become extremely weak. Or they deviated to a deviant sect. They became from one of those who are from الضالة المضلة ومن الفرق الضالة المضلة الهالكة الموجودة في ساحة الدعوة الآن. Or they became from those deviant sects, those destroyed deviant sects that are present in the da'wah right now, who are becoming plentiful. For that reason, what is important is that one, especially in these days, always make sure that he's genuine and sincere for Allah Ta'ala, because that is the victory and one of the keynotes that will keep you firm is to also always make sure that you're doing things for Allah Ta'ala, and that there's no hidden agenda in what you do. There's no ulterior motive behind why you make certain moves. If as far as plotting against certain people, or as they say, يُدَبِّرُونَ الْأُمُورَ وَرَاءَ الْكَوَالِيسِ وَتَحْتَ الدَّهَالِيزِ, as they say in Arabic. وَرَاءَ الْكَوَالِيسِ وَتَحْتَ الدَّهَالِيزِ, behind the scenes and under the caves, under the tunnels you plot. Allah Ta'ala, like we said, for the people of deviance and the people who plot, لَهُمْ بِالْمِرْصَادِ. Allah Ta'ala, like we said, will be on guard to protect those who believe, as it happens in every time and every place. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Verily, Allah Ta'ala defends those who believe. For that reason, based upon that, just a little reminder for two things. Because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare what I wanted to say today, but a reminder doesn't hurt, especially if it benefits all of our communities simultaneously, meaning all of our communities together, collectively. For the first thing I would like to say in regards to the topic today is لا يغتر بكل من أظهر نصرة الدين حتى يعرف أنه على السنة. The topic I wanted to speak about, remind everyone today, is that لا يغتر بكل من أظهر نصرة الدين حتى يعرف أنه على السنة. That no one should be fooled or beguiled by everyone that manifests aiding the religion, until it is known that he is truly upon the Sunnah. That he is truly upon the Sunnah, meaning he's completed all the characteristics of the Sunnah. There's a lot of people these days at times are quick to say someone's Salafi, quick to say someone's Sunni, Salafi. In these days at times, it's just so easy. Not realizing that that person has completed all the characteristics of the Sunnah, where everything is clear. And these are the problems in which we see take place, along with the other tribulations that are occurring, that are also likewise testing us from social media. There's a lot of people now these days, they follow trends, and they follow what their emotions push them towards, not basing things upon scholastic-based reading, and comparing evidences and proofs, and looking into it, and being educated, and being cultivated upon true ilm. Everything is based upon how I feel. That's my man, and I feel this way, which is incorrect. Because Ahlul Sunnah never goes by their emotions or how they feel about something. They go about what's clearly in front of them, of what agrees with the evidences and proofs, not based upon what they feel. Well, that's my man, I feel that he's right in this situation. You feel he's right? Now, I want to know, you need to know that based upon something clear with the text, something clear and evident. And that's the problem these days that we live in. It's hard to break off some of the characteristics that we had before we were Muslim. That's my man. Or that's my people. And if you want to go back to it, we can even apply that on people from different countries. I don't care what you say. They are my people. They are from my country. It's the same ideology. It's the same type of way of belief. And this is from what Shaitan has encouraged and put in the minds of the people, in order for them to stick to something that is false and was a reason why people or nations from before were destroyed. For the first thing I wanted to talk about briefly, as I discussed this even in Delaware, but based upon the title, I'm going to break off bits and pieces and connect the dots as I usually do, and tie everything together. The first thing, like we know, Shaitan himself was the first person to use his opinion to contradict and go against Allah's revelation. He used his opinion, he used an analogy, he used his intellect, he used his mind, he used also the element of how he was created in order to reject what Allah had commanded him. And this right here is the reason why a majority of people go astray, based upon their opinion and putting forth or giving precedence to their intellect and their minds over what Allah and His Messenger have commanded. you'll find that the great Imam, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, rahimahullah, as he talked about the story of what happened with Adam and Iblis in his book, and we know that he was from the Mufassirin, the great Imam, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, rahimahullah. The great Imam, the story of what happened with Adam and Iblis and Shaitan, he said a keynote and a tremendous benefit. Listen to what he says. He said, وَمِنْهَا الشَّهَادَةِ لِمَا كَانَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَفِ أَنَّ الْبِدْعَةَ أَكْبَرُ مِنَ الْكَبَائِرِ. The great Imam. لأن معصية اللعين كانت بسبب الشبهة ومعصية آدم بسبب الشهوة. Listen to what Sheikh Muhammad Abdul-Wahhab rahimahullah said. He said, based upon the story of Adam and Iblis, which is in Surah Al-A'raf, that when Allah Ta'ala commanded Iblis to prostrate to Adam, as we know, Allah Ta'ala gives us the authentic story of what happened, the true story. For Iblis have rejected and refused. And as a result of it, you'll find that Ahl al-Ilm extracted from the story, from this particular story, what happened with Adam and Iblis, or what happened between Adam and Iblis, numerous benefits. From the benefit is, he says, الشهادة لما كان عليه السلف أن البدعة أكبر من الكبائر. He says, and from that is the testimony of what the Salaf were upon, that bid'ah is major and bigger than kaba'ir. It is major and is bigger than sin, the major sins. He said, why? Because the disobedience of the one who's cursed was because of an ambiguity or discrepancy in his belief system. He said the disobedience of a la'een, of the one who is cursed, because he had an ambiguity, where he had some type of defect in his belief system. And he said the disobedience of Adam was because of what? Because of his desires. The disbelief, or the disobedience of Adam, I'll say disbelief. Disobedience of Adam, it was because of his desires. So based upon that, you'll find of what happened, or what was the outcome of both of them. So look to the outcome of what happened to them. What happened to Iblis? What was his outcome, and what happened to Adam? What is his outcome? Based upon those two affairs we just mentioned here. Number one is that the disobedience of what? Of Iblis was because of the discrepancy in his belief system. So whose outcome was worse? Shaitan. So you'll find, Ya Ma'ashar al-Ikhwa, in this particular narration, even the great Imam, they extracted the benefit from this story. When he talked about it, he said there was numerous benefits that we extract from what Iblis had done. From them, number one, he said, when he disobeyed Allah, when he had composed his command, and he rejected it, and he rejected making sujood, out of glorification of Allah and glorifying his command. He said, and what happened as a result of it, we extract 5 things that people need to be on guard against. Rather, you can extract more than that. He said, well, number one, as Iblis was the first one to what? Use his opinion. Use his opinion in his mind, his intellect, to reject the revelation of Allah. Used his opinion and his intellect and his mind to reject the revelation of Allah. He used his opinion in his mind and his intellect to reject the revelation of Allah. So that's the first thing. And that's based upon what Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah had wrote in his book called Darat Ta'arud al-Aql wa al-Naql. It's a book where Shaykh al-Islam entitled it based upon this type of ambiguity, removing the notion that the intellect and the mind came to oppose the Naql. He said rejecting the notion, Darat Ta'arud, rejecting the notion that the mind or the intellect came to oppose the revelation. Meaning that he said that the mind was made and it was created to go along and agree with the revelation, not to reject it. So he wrote a whole book on it, refuting the Asha'ira of those who use their intellect and their opinions and give precedence to that over the revelation, which came as a result of it, the deviant sects. From them is the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, and the Asha'ira, and the Maturidiyya, and other than them, based upon a principle that Shaitan started with, using their minds and giving precedence to it over the revelation. Shaykh al-Islam had now destroyed this particular principle of one, giving his mind or giving precedence to his mind or glorification or veneration to one's mind over the revelation in this whole book, in which Ibn al-Qayyim says in his poetry, he said about Ta'ala al-aql wal-naql, he said, اقرأ العقل والنقل الذي ليس له مثيل ثاني. He said in his poetry, in Nuniyah. Ibn al-Qayyim said in his poetry, Nuniyah, he said, اقرأ العقل والنقل الذي ليس له نظير ثاني. He said, read al-aql wal-naql. He said, that has nothing similar to it. Which you'll find that Shaykh al-Islam destroys the principle of what? Of one, using his mind to oppose the revelation. The mind was made in order to agree with it and submit to it, not to reject it and not to oppose it. So anyone that comes on his tongue and he finds, well, my opinion in this is this, or my opinion it is that, or I feel that it should be like this, or I feel that it should be like that, or I feel, or my opinion is, this is all what we are speaking about right now. And you'll find that this is on the tongues of a lot of us, from the brothers and sisters. Like we said, all these notions, the one who originated and founded these type of ideologies was Iblis himself in order to reject what Allah had commanded him. And as a result of it, like we said, it became a discrepancy in his belief system, where as a result of it, he became from the accursed, where he will be in hell forever. That's the reason why you'll find that Ahl Sunnah and the Salafiyyin always focuses on cleansing the people's belief system before they focus on anything else. Or you'll find that they give some type of importance to cleansing the people's belief systems before a lot of other things, because this is the most vital, which can be the survival of people in this world and in the hereafter. Because if they do not purify their belief system before they meet Allah, they will meet Allah Ta'ala in a very dangerous state. Whereas, we know the ayah where Allah Ta'ala said on the tongue, or where he said upon his Khalil Rahman, Khalil Rahman, Abu al-Anbiya, Ibrahim, that he said, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ الْمَالُ وَلَا بَنُوهُ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. As Allah Ta'ala says in his book, on the tongue of Ibrahim, Khalil Rahman, that he said on the day where no one's wealth or children will avail him or benefit him except the one who comes to Allah with a sound heart. Well, the meaning of sound heart, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, the meaning of that is that you come to Allah Ta'ala with an aqeedah salafiyah, meaning the correct creed, starting off with the correct belief system. Aqeedah salafiyah, which is Islam, and Islam is salafiyah. That you come to Allah Ta'ala with a sound belief is meeting Allah with a sound heart. Meaning Allah Ta'ala free from, as Shaykh al-Islam also mentioned the benefit of this ayah also. He said, the meaning of sound heart, he says that heart that is salim, khalin min al-mu'taqadat al-fasida. Wal-mu'taqadat al-fasida wal-iradat al-tabi'a lidhalik. He said the meaning of Allah with a sound heart, the meaning of it is meeting Allah Ta'ala with a correct sound belief system that has been free from any corruptive ideologies and beliefs. From polytheism, from disbelief, and also different types of deviation of what will pollute and taint your belief system, which when you meet Allah, that is the first thing that Allah Ta'ala is going to bring every abd or every servant to account before Allah examines the actions of the people in this world. Before He brings to account the actions, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will bring the belief system and examine it and look at the people's hearts to make sure they have belief and has not been corrupted by some corrupt ideology. That heart will be examined in and out. Does it have polytheism in it? Did it have kufr in it? Was you upon the correct belief system, the correct methodology? All these affairs will be examined before the righteous actions. And this is where Iblis came up short in, which as a result of it, like we said, he became from the accursed. And he became from those who will be in the hellfire forever, in which Allah Ta'ala's curse and His anger will be upon him, and those who answer His call. As Allah Ta'ala also talks about what happened with Iblis, and from the benefits that we extracted, number one is that he used his opinion and his mind, and he used an analogy to reject the revelation. He used some type of analogy. And we said analogy, meaning that he used the element of how he was created in order to say that I'm better than Adam, as we know. Where Iblis had actually mentioned and said that Adam was created from fire. So he used the مادة عنصره التي خلقه الله تبارك وتعالى عليها ليستدل بها على معارضة أمر الله تبارك وتعالى. So he used this type of element which he was created upon in order to oppose Allah تبارك وتعالى's command. In which you'll find that even Ahl Ilm say in this regard, this type of analogy is still rejected. Well, you notice that Iblis used the element of how he's created to reject what Allah commanded. Meaning, for example, he said, I was created from fire. You made me from fire, and you made him from what? From dirt or clay. You'll find in that aspect of an analogy, this is still what they call qiyas ma'al fariq. This is still an analogy with still differences in it. Why? Because fire, you'll find, as Ibn al-Qayyim, he even mentioned this about when Iblis, number one, is he i'taqad thumma istadal. That he had a belief, then he looked for evidence. He established a foundation of belief, then he tried to what? Look for something to justify it. Not just submitting that Allah is all what? Complete and wise in what? He commands his servants to do. Not sufficing, and that wasn't adequate for him. Rather, I'm going to use my element of how it's created in order to oppose what Allah had commanded me, which you'll find that the element of how he was created was the reason why he fell into what he fell into. The fact that he was in fire was of what? Al-ilm. Even Ibn al-Qayyim had mentioned this and he had answered this and said that Iblis was from fire. Fire is light and it's rash. It's rash and it's not stable. And he said, and this is the reason why he fell into what he fell into. Not realizing the reason why you using to say that you're better than Adam was the reason why you disobeyed Allah. Using your element is the reason why you what? Fell into this type of deviance in your belief system. And you're using it as an evidence to oppose what Allah commanded. So as far as Adam himself, or how he was created where you'll find that clay, even though if it has some type of weakness of what Iblis had went in and out of Adam when he was created, and find that he had a lot of weaknesses in him. However, he was heedless of something else behind that. Not realizing that clay, even though it has some type of discrepancy in it as far as pertaining to its creation, but however, it has something in it of some softness and gentleness where if it was to make a mistake, it will what? He will eventually come back to the truth and make tawbah. Where his element of how he was created was something that was what? That would benefit him. Because in the end, what happened with Adam? What did he say? As Allah Ta'ala talked about Adam in the words that Adam had mentioned himself, فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. And Allah Ta'ala also said in this book about Adam where Adam mentioned himself, رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Allah Ta'ala said also in this book that Adam has said, "O our Lord, we have oppressed ourselves. If you do not forgive us and have mercy upon us, we will most definitely be from the losers." So the element of how one's created, to use that as an evidence and proof, to reject what Allah has sent down, is from the evilest affairs. And from that we extract a lot of different benefits. From those benefits is to say, I'm better than so-and-so because I'm black and he's white. Or I'm better than so-and-so, I'm from 13th Street, he's from 15th Street. Or in South Philly, the wars between 9th Street and 7th Street. I'm from 7th Street, he's from 9th Street, I'm better than you. I'm from so-and-so gang, you from the Blood, you from the Crips, I'm better than you. I come from Somalia, you come from Africa. I'm from Saudi Arabia, you come from Africa, I'm better than you. I have curly hair, you have coarse hair, I'm better than you. I'm from Pakistan, you're from Russia, for example, I'm better than you. All of this was a da'wah iblisiyah. All of it was a satanic Iblis type of call in order to what? Use as an evidence the element of how a person is, or whatever, no matter what of color he is, or background, or ethnicity, or where he came from, or some type of land that he's from, or some type of country, or some type of nationality, or ethnicity. To use that as an evidence to look down upon someone And to say you're better than that individual, all of that is from the da'wah of Iblis, in which you'll find that he was the first one to start and use this as an evidence to say that he was better than someone else or to look down upon someone else, to the point, like we said, as a result of it, that final outcome was what everyone, he became from the accursed. That was from one of the reasons in which we mentioned here from the benefits of Adam with Iblis. That's from the first two we just mentioned. There's a lot of them. The third, you'll find that also Iblis was arrogant. He was very arrogant. And I think that's self-explanatory for me not to even elaborate on. How arrogance will lead the person down destruction. But just keep in mind the keynote of what I'm mentioning here now, brothers and sisters, which is what? That Iblis had a discrepancy in his belief system. He had a deviancy in his heart, in his conviction, in his belief. It was a discrepancy. His belief system. So Iblis was also what? Was also very haughty and arrogant. I don't think I have to speak up too much on kibr, even though that is the reason of why a lot of people have deviated from what we so-called thought of certain people used to be from the Sunnah. Brothers, they all have one thing in common, whether it be from Abu Usama, Tahir Wyatt, who else? Muhammad Munir, Shadid Muhammad, and I wouldn't find it for all of Ali Davis because all of them are hanging around each other. But at any rate, all of them you'll find that they have one thing in common. They are very arrogant. All of them. Very mutakabbir. Very arrogant. This is to also let you know where arrogance can land you. Arrogance can land you in a pond of deviance likewise, if you're not careful. Being mutakabbir can lead you down a road of dalal. It can. All of them have one thing in common, more than one thing in common. For one of the things they have in common, they are mutakabbirun. Very haughty and arrogant, belligerent. Truth comes to them, I gotta listen to you. Who's that? Sheikh Rabia. Oh yeah, he's from our Mashaykh. Yeah, we love him. Behind closed doors, you saying something else. Also, kibr will lead you down a road of destruction. Arrogance and looking down and rejecting a person no matter what they give you of the truth, no matter what background they're from, or no matter how long they study. If they're coming with something of the truth, no matter who's bringing it and what level you're upon. It's incumbent upon the person to accept it, not to reject it. And wallahi, brothers, no matter what a person does as far as it regards, for one, bringing him evidence and proofs, if you accept it, it will be a reason for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raising you. I have not seen anyone who is humble for Allah tabarak wa ta'ala from all these days and years I've been in da'wah, except that you will find that Allah tabarak wa ta'ala raises that individual. I don't mind speaking of the truth if people leave out because it might be stirring up something. Oh well, at any rate. But like I was saying, in regards to what we say, that in regards to of accepting the truth and being humble for the creation, will be a reason for you being raised in this dunya. I have not seen anyone that's able to say out of their mouth, I'm apologize. I shouldn't have did that. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. That was incorrect. I accept that you see that Allah has raised that individual. I haven't seen anyone that makes that type of speech and I hear it on their tongue. That wasn't right. That was an incorrect move. I apologize. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I take that back. That was a mistake. Except that you'll find that Allah raised it. And that's not just like we said in the da'wah, the da'wah. In general, that's even in our homes, amongst our families, amongst men, amongst women. Social dealings likewise. Men should not be afraid to say to their wife, I'm sorry. That was wrong. Some women think that's not manly to do that. It's not manly to say I'm wrong to a woman. Wallahi, brothers, it's manly. And it shows that you're truly a man. Because it takes a courage and it takes a lot of strength to admit when a person is wrong. And it shows that you are a strong individual. And likewise, similar to women, same thing. It is not a weakness to say that I'm wrong. Because if you are now, have found this type of harshness or this difficulty upon yourself, look to what happened with Iblis. Because Iblis, even though Allah Ta'ala reprimanded him, he continued in his what? In his arrogance.
when he continued in his arrogance, look to the point where even Shaitan, how he lost his senses and his intellect and his intelligence. Shaitan lost it. How did he lose it? Shaitan knew that Allah is all dominant and powerful. He knew this. That's why he had to ask permission from Allah to give him time all the way up to the day of resurrection. So notice in two things in the story. Shaitan did this. Shaitan asked Allah for permission, which is a clear indication that what? Shaitan fears Allah. He's a fear of his dominance and his might and his power and his sublimity, tabaraka wa ta'ala. And at the same time, he did not ask Allah for forgiveness. So he knew at the same time Allah could destroy him. But at the same time, he didn't ask for repentance when he wanted to continue his belligerence. Even though he knew Allah was strong and all powerful, he could destroy him. In contrast to Adam had what? Adam made Tawbah. Knew that his Lord is dominant and is able to do all things. Instead of him continue upon his mistake, Adam admitted to it. Adam admitted to his mistake. He admitted it, he acknowledged it, and what happened? Even though his mistake caused him to be exiled and removed from the most greatest of places in which we ask Allah to return us back to, which is Jannah. But despite of that, he still had to be put in this disgusting, trying, filthy world called the dunya, this lowly place. But despite of that, Allah Ta'ala still gave him another chance, which in Tawbah, like we said, which is to show that Adam still did not lose his senses when he made Tawbah. Rather, that shows that he's intelligent. In contrast to Iblis, because of a discrepancy in his belief system, it changed him as far as in his intelligence and his correct belief, in which he continued down that road and he did not make Tawbah, which is similar to what everyone, the people of what? Innovations. That's the reason why you'll find that the Salaf used to say, it is very rare that a person will make Tawbah once he has a discrepancy in his belief system. That's why they're the most dangerous of affairs, based upon what happened to Iblis himself. Because Iblis himself did not make any Tawbah. Right? He continued his belligerence and arrogance, even though he knew at the same time Allah is all powerful and Allah could destroy him instantly. But despite of that, he still continued. It which shows the contradiction when he said to Allah, قَالَ رَبِّي أَنظِرْنِي إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ قَالَ إِنَّكَ مِنَ الْمُنظَرِينَ. He asked permission. So a person now, to be arrogant and still asking permission, doesn't that make someone look kind of stupid? You're asking permission, but at the same time you're being arrogant. Oh, Allah allow me to mislead them. You're granted that. You're asking permission, trying to be humble somewhat, and at the same time you're being what? Arrogant. Which shows that also discrepancy in your belief system removes your intelligence, your sound intelligence, and your submission to the command and the affair of Allah Ta'ala. So yeah, ma'ashal ikhwa, in these trying days and times, because the people of deviance are plentiful now. And they come in so many forms, and they come in so many colors. It's sad. Me, myself, as I get older and older, I really don't care of saying with the truth, and I really don't care what people have to say. I just say it because I know Allah's going to ask me about it. Whether people like me personally or not. At the end of the day, I know when I face my Lord, I can say I said the truth, and I said, and I did it for Allah. Whether the people are benefited or not, or they have some person in their chest for me or not, oh well. But at the end of the day, I could come and face my Lord and said that I did the best to clarify to what will be an aid of curing the diseases and the sicknesses of the hearts of the people. Even though certain people might not like it at one time, but eventually, inshallah, if I die, inshallah, they will look back and say, inshallah, he tried his best to try to cure us and make us better people. He did what he could. And that's what happened to our brother Abu Uwais, where I still think to this day that people don't realize the legacy of that man and don't realize how much grateful we need to be for the legacy what he did. Because once you see people bringing in Abu Usama back in the field, you automatically should say, this is from the fitna Abu Uwais. What are we going down that road for? It's clear. I'm not going backwards. You see people on the stage with Abu Usama, brothers and sisters, you've seen what happened with Abu Uwais for those who were there. and what Abu Uwais went through to clarify the misguidance of Abu Usama. So why do you want to go back now in time and waste time? You see people on the stage with him, bang, we know that you're the people that's misguiding the Salafis. Automatically, without any hesitation. We're going to go back now and we're going to go become lax and we're going to regress in our affairs of dawah now? Or are we going to come to our senses and appreciate the legacy of what that man has sacrificed? Because I really think a lot of people really don't know the legacy of that man and appreciate it. Because if you appreciate it, you would never be going to those masajid, those people that aid those type of individuals at all. You wouldn't be around them. Because you know what that man went through and he did to clarify to the people what was the truth. You know what he did. And you know what he went through for those who were there. And those during that time of that period and before that. But that's the reason why I wanted to also mention about this hadith. I'm going to tie everything in together. Like we said, brothers, keep in mind the disobedience of Iblis was based upon discrepancy in his belief system until he was landed in the hellfire forever. Forever. He became from the la'een or mal'oon. He became for those who are cursed and expelled from the mercy of Allah, in which he died and he will be what? In the hellfire forever, especially for anyone who answers his call to that particular what? Misguidance. So for one thing I want to mention is said about the hadith of Abu Hurairah, and it's a tremendous benefit. وليثار أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أمر بلال يوم خيبر فنادى بالناس إنه لا يدخل الجنة إلا نفس مسلمة وإن الله لا يؤيد هذا الدين بالرجل الفاجر. رواه البخاري مسلم. The hadith of Abu Hurairah, Abdur-Rahman bin Sakhr al-Dawsi, al-Yamani, that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, that he commanded Bilal on the day of Khaybar, he called out to the people, verily no one will enter paradise except a nafsun muslima. No one will enter paradise except a believing soul. So there's no kuffar in Jannah. There are no kuffar in Jannah. The only people in Jannah are the people of Tawheed, the people of monotheism. Illa nafsun muslima. Verily Allah most definitely will aid this religion birrajil al-fajr. He said he will aid this religion by an evil man. Even if it's by an evil man. What do we mean by that? We're going to explain it inshallah. However, the part of the hadith goes back to another narration. Was another narration from the authority of Abu Hurairah. شهدنا خيبر فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لرجل ممن معه يدعي الإسلام هذا من أهل النار فلما حضر القتال قاتل الرجل أشد القتال حتى كثرت به الجراحة فكان بعض الناس يرتاب فوجد الرجل ألم الجراحة فأهوى بيده إلى كنانته فاستخرج منها أسهما فنحر بها نفسه فاشتد رجال من المسلمين فقالوا يا رسول الله صدق الله حديثك انتحر فلان فقتل نفسه فقال قم يا فلان فأذن أنه لا يدخل الجنة إلا مؤمن إن الله يؤيد الدين بالرجل الفاجر. And the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that he said that we witnessed the battle of Khaybar, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there is most definitely a man that claims Islam, and he is from the people of the hellfire. So he's openly manifesting Islam, and he's openly showing defense of Islam, and he's openly quoting hadith, openly quoting ayat, openly quoting poetry. That's why these days, as time goes on, when people have ayat, ahadith memorized left and right, I'm not really impressed. Based upon these narrations, until you see what's the final outcome of that individual. Alhamdulillah, Allah's granted him intelligence. That's good. Has some hilm. He's able to quote ahadith on the top of his. Alhamdulillah. Arabic might be good. MashaAllah. Tabarakallah. Nah. I'm not impressed by none of that. Until I see now what is his maslak, what is his inclination towards, because I've seen the most intelligent and the most strongest memories of people, I've seen them go astray. I've seen it with my own eyes. People got ahadith memorized, ayat memorized, left and right, quoted left, right, off the top of his dome. Arabic, very eloquent in his tongue. MashaAllah, even some of them got good recitation Qur'an. Dal mudin. Astray, leaving others astray. That's from what is being extracted, the benefits of this hadith, which we'll talk about inshallah. So it says in the Battle of Khaybar, he said that most definitely is a man, he claims Islam, he's from the people of the hellfire. He said, فَلَمَّا حَضْرَ الْقِتَالِ قَاتَلَ الرَّجُلُ أَشَدَّ الْقِتَالِ. So when he came to the battlefield, this man started fighting. He started fighting bravely, fiercely, no fear. Fighting the enemy until he became wounded. The wounds on his body became in abundance. He says, until some of the people started having a little doubt. The Messenger of Allah said this, but look to what he's doing in the battle right now. Keep in mind what we're speaking about. Some of the people started having a little doubt. He says, so the man, when he seen this tremendous pain that he was afflicted with in the battlefield, he says, فَأَهْوَى بِيَدِهِ لَكِنَانَتِهِ فَاسْتَخْرَجَ مِنْهَا أَسْهُمًا. Then he took his hand and reached in the sheath of where his weapon was at, on the side, where they plant the sword on the side, and or the arrow, where the sheath is, where he keeps the bows inside of that actual container. He said he put his hand in and he took some arrows out. He took it and he stabbed himself with it. He says, and then it became very hard upon the Muslimin because they had a little doubt of what the Messenger of Allah had said, and it became heavy upon them. They started feeling very bad about what they thought and the thoughts that came to their mind. So they came to the Messenger of Allah, said, Messenger of Allah, Allah confirmed your hadith, what you said. Allah actualized it, made it clear for everyone. He said the man committed suicide. He killed himself. So the Messenger of Allah says, stand, O Bilal. Call out to the people that no one will enter paradise except a mu'min. Verily Allah will aid this religion by al-rajul al-fajr. He will aid this religion by al-rajul al-fajr. And the man who's a fajr can mean a lot of things. It can be fujur of even kufr. Yes. It could be of a person of disbelief. And the great Imam Sheikh Muhammad Amal al-Jami, when he explained this hadith also. For example, he gave of something that took place in one of the countries, and I forgot, it was one of the countries in Africa. And their country is heavily involved or engrossed in Sufiya. And he said that there was a Christian man, there was a Muslim man, and they had to come to court. There was this little case that came of some type of problem that had developed between the two, and it was brought to the hakim, to the judge. The judge was a Muslim. So the judge at the end of the case, when he heard, this person, matter of fact, the person who was had the actual claim, he was Sufi, he was Sufi, who had the case against this person who studied at the University of Medina. So he started complaining to the judge that he keeps speaking about us, he's talking about, speaking ill about us, disparaging us, stopping our dawah or our call, he's reprimanding us to the end of it. So this judge who was a non-Muslim, he said to him, he said, did you study outside, or have you ever gone out to study your religion? He said, no. He said, didn't he study in the University of Medina? He said, yes. He said, did he speak such and such a years, and that he received such and such credentials, and that he studied that's where your religion started, in that particular country? In Medina, isn't Saudi Arabia the original place where your religion started? He said, yes. He said, that's where everything started, right? Yes. Did he study there? Yes. Isn't he gradually had study under scholars there to the end of it? This is a non-Muslim saying this. Yes. To the end of it. He said, well, maybe you misunderstood your own religion. And that you need to start learning it from him because he's the one that has the truth with him based upon the fact that he's studying the land where your religion originated from. So Sheikh Muhammad Aman, upon his story, he said, Inna Allah la yu'ayyidu hadha ad-deen bil-rajul al-fajr. Verily, Allah will aid this religion with an evil man, because the man was still a what? A non-Muslim. Notice he said he was a what? Fajr. You understand, everyone? Fine. However, it does not now legitimize for one to think that it's permissible to take from the people of Ahl Fujur. No. Rather, with the hadith of what we're trying to what we're trying to manifest was extracted from this narration, that this individual was showing aid to the Sunnah at first. That is the maqsad, the reason why I mentioned this narration. He was manifesting aid of the religion. He was fighting in the battlefield. This is not specifically only just for what? A battlefield. This is also for people who manifest the truth, generally. Whether they're people that propagate to the correct call or not. Even people who so-called manifest in the beginning that they call it to the Sunnah. And eventually they what? Start to change. And then you will find that the condition they state starts to go to the most evilest way. Or the evilest manner that you'll find them. That's what we're extracting from this narration here. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? Is everyone with me? This narration, it shows that that person at one time was defending the religion. He was defending and calling to what was correct. He was doing something correct, Then as a result of it, his state changed. Why? Because something of a discrepancy in his belief system or something that was hidden that no one had knew about. Something that was hidden in his chest, which as a result of it, the qadr or the pen took over, switched until he died in a state in which the Messenger of Allah has said that that man is what? From the hellfire. So no one is fooled by what? Everyone that so-called proclaims to calling to the truth openly, and professing to it, and propagating it, calling the people to it. We're not impressed. The people of the Sunnah, the people who have experienced this down for over 20-some years, they sit and they watch. That's why we're not quick to rush and hasten towards giving recommendations to certain people just because they've been overseas for 6 or 7 months, or a year, and even 8 years, until they completed all the characteristics of the Sunnah. All of them, as Imam al-Barbahari mentioned, which if we have time, we'll talk about it in a couple of minutes, because they're characteristics that everyone has to fulfill. All of us, until you say he's Sahib al-Sunnah. These characteristics have to be what? Fulfilled. And we're going to elaborate on it, inshaAllah. Before that, all these type of stories of what we mentioned of what happened to Abu Hurairah, also the origin of that does come in the book of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. And it also comes in Surah Al-A'raf, that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says in this book, that he says in Surah Al-A'raf, I can't remember the number, we'll give it to anyone, what's the number after the class, or after the lecture. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says in his book, وَاتْلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ الَّذِي آتَيْنَاهُ آيَاتِنَا فَانْسَلَخَ مِنْهَا فَأَتْبَعَهُ الشَّيْطَانُ فَكَانَ مِنَ الْغَاوِينَ وَلَوْ شِئْنَا لَرَفَعْنَاهُ بِهَا وَلَكِنَّهُ أَخْلَدَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ الْكَلْبِ إِن تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْهِ يَلْهَثْ أَوْ تَتْرُكْهُ يَلْهَثْ ذَلِكَ مَثَلُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا فَقُصُصِ الْقَصَصَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. That Allah Ta'ala that he mentions in his book, the origin of this type of story goes back to the book of Allah, Surah Al-A'raf. Allah Ta'ala says, recite to them the story of a man, we gave him our ayat. We gave him our ayat. And he removed it from himself. Shaitan followed him up and he became from those who are astray. And if we willed, we would have raised them by those signs. However, he wanted this world. أَخْلَدَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ. He wanted something lowly of the commodities, of these lowly affairs of this world, of this mundane place that we live in, of this dunya. He wanted something lowly. And he gave in exchange for those ayat, that pathetic lowly thing of this world. And removed the signs from him. And Shaitan followed him out and he became for those who are astray. If we will, we would have raised him. However, he wanted something in this world, he followed his desires. For the example of him is like the example of the dog that pats. If you put something on him, he will pat like breathe like. And if you just leave him alone, he'll still he will still pat and still do the same thing. That is the example of those who belie our signs. Recite to them the stories in order for them to reflect. So ya ma'ashal ikhwa, the story of what happened to this man is exactly what happened with Iblis and Adam. Is the same thing likewise that happened with this individual. Even Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab even mentioned about him. In his book about his tafsir, he mentioned this. This is what Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab had mentioned about this particular story, and he connected with this individual. Listen, who is this man? What is his name? He says, what's extracted from the story of Iblis and Adam, and likewise this story of this man who Allah gave him his signs. And he wanted something of this world, and as a result of it, He followed up his desires in exchange for what Allah had given him. He wanted that worldly thing. And he became from those who are astray. Sheikh Muhammad Abdul-Wahhab had mentioned and said in this regard, he says, وَمِنْهَا عَدَمُ الْإِغْتِرَارِ بِالرُّتْبَةِ وَالْمَنْزِلَةِ فإنه كان له منزلة رفيعة يعني إبليس وكذلك بلعام بن باعوراء وغيره ممن له علم ورتبة ثم سلب ذلك. Listen what it goes on to say. And for what we extract from this story is not for one to be fooled by the high status he has. And another statement he said, not to be fooled by the knowledge he possesses. He says, and from that not to be beguiled or fooled by a high status that one has. For verily Shaitan had a high status. And likewise he was the most knowledgeable of Allah, of the creation. He was the most knowledgeable of Allah of the creation. He knew about Tawheed, knew about Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Also Shaitan believed in the Qadr. What is the delil for that? The delil for that, where Allah Ta'ala says in this book, فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. Because of you misleading me, I will lurk and wait in a straight path. You'll find that even Shaykh Abdur-Rahman Sa'di said, for the benefits of this is that one cannot use the destiny, divine decree of Allah to justify his evil, blaming the qadr of Allah. Meaning that I'm going to kill this individual. This is what Allah has written. It's all nonsense. This is a deviation in the qadr. First of all, how do you know that Allah has truly, has Allah destined and He has also decreed that you kill this individual, do this evil? How do you know? You knew that? You read in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, you have read inside a preserved tablet. Shaitan, the same thing. Because of you misguided me. This is your fault. Why I'm now been destined for destruction. Meaning, you read this for me, you had control over this. I had nothing to do with it. It's your fault. Which is a deviation in the Qadr, which agrees with the deviant sect, or what they call the Jabriyah, who believe that that the actions of the slave are forced upon him. They had no choice in the matter. Shaitan used this type of deviant ideology in order to justify what? To justify his evil, why he was disobeyed Allah. He used this and said, because of you misguided me, which is a deviation in the Qadr. But the point of what we want to mention generally, even Shaykh Rabi'a mentioned in the Sharia, but anyway, that you'll find also likewise in this statement here, that Shaitan affirmed the Qadr, bil jumla. As even Shaykh Rabi'a mentioned that in Sharia. He said that Shaitan believed in the Qadr in general, even though he used it as a type of evil, as a type of evidence and proof to justify what he did. To say that what he did of disobeying Allah was what? Was correct. But he said, bil jumla, generally he believed and affirmed the Qadr. However, Shaitan being the most knowledgeable of the khalq, him being the most knowledgeable, and him having a high status, he still went astray. No matter if it's because of the high status he possessed, and also him being the most knowledgeable of the creation, he still went astray. Likewise, similar to the man of what we're going to talk about a little bit right now. His name was Bal'am ibn Ba'ura. Likewise, similar to what happened with Shaitan, he had a high status, which happened during the time of Bani Israel with Musa. And his name, they have come in different narrations that we're talking about. Some of Ahl Ilm say that his name was Bal'am ibn Abar. Some narrations said that his name was Bal'am ibn Ba'ir. Some of them say that his name was Bal'am ibn Ba'ura. Some of them say that his name was Bal'am ibn Ba'ur. Different narrations, at any rate. Whether it's that one or that, we know that his name was either Bal'am or Bal'am. One of the two. Bal'am likewise had great knowledge about Allah. He had a lot of knowledge, and those signs that Allah gave him was ilm. Allah gave him knowledge. And that was not enough until he snatched it and ripped it off of himself. It's Bal'am ibn Ba'ura. Like we said, there's different narrations. Some of them say Bal'am ibn Abar. Some of them say, like we said, Bal'am ibn Ba'ur. Some of them say Bal'am ibn Ba'ir. Some of them say Bal'am or Bal'am ibn Ba'ura. At the end of the day, we know that it's Bal'am or Bal'am. What did it do? But at any rate, what happened with Bal'am was similar to Iblis. He had a lot of knowledge. And still, despite of that, he went astray. Listen to what happened with his story. Allah Ta'ala mentioned, as you'll find in Ibn Kathir and other than that, I mentioned about what took place. About Bal'am ibn Ba'ura and the story of when he had knowledge of the greatest name of Allah. They say that he was from the Jabbar, he was amongst the people who Musa and Bani Israel had to fight. Well, we know the story, what happened in Surah Al-Ma'idah of the Jabbareen. Well, Allah Ta'ala commanded them to enter it and fight them. And if you fight them, you'll be victorious. But however, they were what? Cowardly. To the end of the story happened in Surah Al-Ma'idah. At any rate, Bal'am was with the people of the Jabbareen. He was sitting with them, and he was with them. Until people from his tribe and his lineage of the children of his uncles came to him. And he said, make dua against them. You have knowledge about Allah. And in some narrations of Ibn Kathir mentioned it said that his invocation was answered. He made dua to Allah, was answered. When his children had came to him asking, now they tried to put him to fitna, which is another benefit to show evil friends and evil people around you can keep being with you and being with you and being with you until they can affect you and put you to fitna and put you to trial and test. If you have the wrong people around you, how they eventually can have effect on you, they can start putting you with fitna. So those people around Bal'am started now being around him, saying that Musa and his people, that they're what? They're coming. And then when they land, they're coming to take the land. And we said that that land at that particular time was Sham, which is now the land of Jordan, occupied by Syria and the other countries. Jordan, Syria, Palestine, all this considered Sham. But at any rate, Musa and his people were coming. And Bal'am was with the Jabbareen, meaning those tyrannical kings who used to oppress the people. And they used to also treat the people unfairly. He says that when he was sitting with them, the people around Bal'am started convincing him, saying that they're coming, and if they come, they're going to occupy and take our land. We won't have anything, anywhere to live. We'll be dislodged. We'll have no place to stay once Musa and his people remove us. Make dua against them. So Bal'am had mentioned and said, amongst them is the Prophet Musa and those who are with him from his followers. How can I make dua against them? How do you expect me to do this? They said, what are we going to do? If he come, they occupy our land, we're going to be removed. We're not going to have anywhere to stay. Until they started likewise convincing him. And not only what they did, listen to this part, because this is a connection with what takes place with a lot of du'ats today who are misguided and went down the road misguided. They gave him some type of worldly thing, money or something tempting. Sometimes it's women, sometimes it's money. Gave it to him. That's the keynote of the story. Money. One of the narrations says that the king had broke him off something worldly. Didn't specify. They say he gave him something worldly. He just kept it general like that. Something worldly. The point of the matter is, whether it's worldly, whether it's actual monetary money, the point of the matter is he was what? He was duped by being tricked and fooled by something worldly. That's the point of the matter. How many of those who are upon falsehood you see, even up to these days? If you really now look to their story of what took place with a lot of people who went astray from the 90s up to now, you'll find that it's connected with something worldly. Something worldly behind what some of the people didn't know about, which came as a result of it, their destruction. Listen to the story of Allah. This is the reason why Allah has commanded us to reflect the tafsir of these stories. If you get to the bottom of it, you'll be like, and compare it to what's going on now, you'll be like, that's exactly what's going on now. With a lot of people, why they're going astray. Weak for money, weak for worldly things. So listen to that. So it says in the story that they gave him something worldly until they put him to trial and test. Until what? He started making dua against Musa and his people. Keep in mind, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, what happened in the story? Musa and his followers of Bani Israel at the time, we know, were the people of the haqq. Right or wrong? They were the people of the truth. Notice that Bal'am at one time was aiding them. He was defending them. Because of now, him and his evil friends around him, and they broke him off something worldly, not only did he become from those making dua against him, but keep in mind, like we said, he said he was the one that his invocation was answered. Not only did he start making dua against them, he started now aiding the people of falsehood, as it comes in the end of the story of what happened to Bal'am ibn Ba'urah. Started aiding the people of falsehood. These stories are, and brothers, if you really get down to the authentic stories of it, you'll be like, wow, this is everything taking place today. It's exactly what's taking place every single day. So Bal'am now, when he took that worldly thing from what they gave him, he came up on a mountain. Allah Ta'ala gave him a sign. Allah Ta'ala gave him a sign. The animal that he was upon, it said that he hit, as was mentioned in Ibn Asakir in his narrations. As Ibn Asakir had mentioned the story, what happened, from those narrations, he said that the animal was going up to the mountain, this mountain called Husban. And when it was about to reach the edge of the mountain, the actual animal stopped, as if he tried to hold him back from doing what he was about to do, which is making dua against Musa and his people. Until he hit it. Then it stood up, and it started going again a little bit. Then it stopped again. He said, until the animal stopped, then it went down again. Then he patted it again. And he also came off the animal. He said to the animal now, Allah Ta'ala allowed it to talk. He said, Bil'am, what are you doing? He said, Bil'am, what are you doing? He said, don't you see the malaika in front of me? Don't you see that they're trying to hold me back to do what you're about to do? Don't you see them in front of me? Holding me back? Listen to how so much he was deceived and put to trial and affected to the point he did not want to hear even the signs of Allah being what? Given to him. Wasn't enough. The fact that he was so deceived by his worldly affairs was something mundane to the point where he still wanted to continue in what? Actualizing some type of falsehood. Even though Allah Ta'ala had gave him some type of sign. To let you know how serious following one's desires are. To the point where a person can see the clearest of signs. And still be what? Still rejected. And you'll find that the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he said that if he was to gather all the signs of the angels and all the prophets and everything right in front of some of them, they still wouldn't believe. This is how basira of insight can be what? Destroyed. If one follows his desires, especially if Allah has given a clear sign to someone of knowledge, high status, and possess all these affairs, how still his desires in him, accepting something worldly and of evil companions can really what? Sway what is correct as far as in his methodology and his belief system. Until he continued in his path and his road up the top of the mountain. I don't know, for some reason it's making my nose itch. But it's going up the top of the mountain. Until when he reached it, he started making dua against Musa and his people. Until it said in the tafsirs of Ibn Kathir had mentioned, it said, even Ibn Asakir. I know some of the people probably haven't heard this, of course. That's the reason why the people come to teach what we don't know. So as far as in the story, you go back to it, you'll be surprised, you'll be blown away. Like, wow, this story is, wow, that's deep. This story is very deep. It is. Because it all coincides with what we're talking about right now. So what we're saying when it happened to the mountain, when he made dua against Musa and Bani Israel, he found that when he made dua against them, the actual supplication was against his own people. Allah changed his tongue. Even though his intention was to make dua against Musa, his tongue was what? Making dua against them. Meaning the people. And every time he made dua for those evil people, it was made, his tongue was switched to make dua for good for Musa and his people. Until the third time when he did it, his tongue had what? Came down. And his head came down. Allah ripped him of what? Of everything he gave him of his signs. Until it said in the narration that he said, now my dunya is over and my hereafter is done. He says, now I will plot for you. This is exactly what happens with the people who so-called manifest uprightness. You'll find that they come to a level where they start what? Plotting against the people of the truth. Right or wrong. I'll plot against them now. I'll start coming with false principles now. I'll start coming with false methodologies now. And I'll start plotting against them. Exactly what happened to Bil'am ibn Ba'urah in this particular story. He said his tongue came down. He says, now I'm finished. I'll plot against them for you now. Meaning the enemies, I will plot for you, and I will learn, and I will teach you how you can mislead Musa and his people. Isn't that going on right now with certain people sitting with people of bid'ah? Certain with people that's going to certain masajid. I know all their tricks. I can teach them to you. People know exactly what I'm talking about. Mr. Tall. Now I can teach you their tricks. I'll be around you now. I can plot with you now. I can teach you all their tricks. You can plot against them together now. Sounds similar and familiar to what we know in these particular stories. This is what's going on. This is what Allah Ta'ala had mentioned. Ibn Kathir mentioned a last point. I'm going to leave it off here, even though I had a lot more information. Ibn Kathir mentioned a tremendous, in this story of Bal'am, he mentioned a tremendous story. It was connected with all what we're mentioning here now. He mentioned a fa'idah minhajiyah, something that's in regards to minhaj. When he thought of Hudayf al-Yaman. And he said the hadith, of course we know is the isnad, he said it's jayyid, as Ibn Kathir mentioned. He said the story of Bal'am, and also was connected to hadith of Abu Hurairah. That person is not fooled by anyone that what? Displays the aid of the religion until he has what? Completed all the characteristics of the sunnah. This is what I wanted to read. All the characteristics of the sunnah before a person is called sahib al-sunnah. Listen to Ibn Kathir mention this fa'idah minhajiyah. In the tafsir, he mentioned this fa'idah as minhaj. Right in the tafsir. He said, if you scroll down, look at the tafsir, he says his narration on Hudayf al-Yaman. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned it, said, أَخْوَفُ مَا أَتَخَوَّفُ عَلَيْكُمْ رَجُلًا. رَجُلًا, he said, كَانَ يُظْهِرُ نُصْرَةَ الدِّينِ. وَسَيْ أَخْوَفُ مَا أَتَخَوَّفُ عَلَيْكُمْ رَجُلًا. Now, alhamdulillah, just remember. قرأ القرآن حتى رؤيت بهجته عليه فصار ردءا للإسلام يعني مدافعا عنه صار ردءا للإسلام فاعتراه إلى ما شاء الله فانسلخ منها فخرج على جاره بالسيف ورماه بالشرك فكفره ورماه بالشرك فقالوا يا رسول الله أيهما أولى بالشرك الرامي أم المرمي قال بل الرامي. He said that the most of what I'm afraid for you, and I want everybody to pay attention to this, especially in Ramadan. People in Ramadan love this because they still do it here in Philadelphia, even though they think that the du'ats don't know. All of us, you don't realize that a lot of us play like we don't know what's going on, but we know exactly what's going on. But you have to play dumb, like you don't realize it. But you know that people in Ramadan still go to the Masajid of Al-Bid'ah to listen to those recitals. Listen to what the Message of Allah said. The most of what I fear for you is the individual that reads the Qur'an until it's seen for him his beautiful recitation. حَتَّى رُؤْيَتْ عَلَيْهِ بَهْجَتُهُ. That beauty is ibadah will what? Fool you. Even the recitation will fool you. The voice that he has will fool you. To the end of it. And he's even someone that even might display defense of Islam. Defending it. Showing aid to it. And he does it for a period of time. Until eventually he rips it off. And Ibn Kathir mentioned this hadith in the story what happened with Bal'am ibn Ba'urah. Exactly in the context. In the middle of this story. So he ripped it off and tore it off himself. I don't know what in this room is making my nose itch. He says, oh what? He says, oh well, he defends it for a period of time until he removes it from himself. Then he switches and he embraces a deviant ideology. He embraces some type of deviant ideology until it says in the narration, he starts to now set out against his neighbor, declaring him a kafir, which is from the ideologies of the Khawarij. Declares him to be a kafir and accuses him of shirk. He says, "O Messenger of Allah, which one of them is more befitting of this wasf, of this description of shirk? The one who's killing, or the one who's setting out to kill, or the one who's being killed, or the one who's the accuser or the accuser?" He said, rather the one who's a rami, the one who's doing the accusing. The point is not necessarily in regards to the Khawarij Yama'ish al-Ikhwa. It's talking about a person for a period of time could be showing aid to the religion, then eventually it will change and he can deviate. And he shows defense of Islam for a period of time. And which is from some of the khisal of the Sunnah, which we'll talk about inshallah, which one has to educate himself. Don't be so quick now to say that so-and-so sahib al-Sunnah. Oh, we was in the Ikhwani Masjid last week. Well, you shouldn't have been in there anyway. But at any rate, what did you hear? Oh, we heard him talking about refuting Jama'at al-Tabligh. We heard him talking about how character siyasa or politics is not from Islam, or we shouldn't be involved in politics. Man, he was in the khutbah, he was bringing it to the end of it. He's Sahib al-Sunnah, he's Salafi. He said, for real, he is? That's what shows you jahl and the ignorance of what? The Sunnah. A person can display a partial affair of the Sunnah and still not be considered a person of the Sunnah. He's only displayed his agreement in the juz'iyyah min as-Sunnah. He only agreed or displayed an agreement in a partial affair of the Sunnah, but he didn't complete all of it. So that's the reason why you should be quick to say that he's Sahib al-Sunnah Salafi until he's completed all of it. From those characteristics is what? Those people he's around him are clear. The people who he's around. The people who's around him is not clear. He's in the Ikhwani masjid. So that shows the majority more than likely who he's hanging around are all Ikhwani. So he hasn't completed the khisal, the characteristics of the Sunnah. So these are some of the characteristics that you have to learn. Because from time to time you'll find these people now, especially social media, like we also said, that they hype it up. So-and-so is from the Sunnah, he's refuting it, Jamaat al-Tabligh. And you quick to say, oh yeah, he's Salafi to the end of it. Or do you know us, as soon as you come to us, we pray for you. And it says, yeah, he probably manifested something of an agreement in a partial affair of the Sunnah. But he hasn't completed all of it. You just said that he agreed with something partial, but that doesn't mean that he's a Sahib al-Sunnah, even though he might have said something of the truth. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? But that's what I wanted to speak about, and I don't have time. But the story of what we want to keep is to keep in mind of what happened with Shaitan and Iblis. There was other things that I wanted to read, but I didn't have the time to do it. But inshallah, bi'idhnillah will suffice and just be adequate, and inshallah has some benefit for today. So brothers and sisters, and especially this masjid, of what is incumbent upon the people here, always have sincerity. And know for sure, brothers and sisters, what you do outside the masjid will affect the da'wah of how the people perceive. It will affect our strength in the da'wah. Don't just think we come to the masjid showing uprightness in front of ourselves. The true test is when everyone leaves and no one is looking at you. Know for sure what you do in secret has an effect on how the da'wah is going to progress. We cannot progress as a community and you're doing filth under or behind the scenes. If you want the da'wah to go forward, purify your actions openly and secretly. Both. The only way the da'wah is going to go forward is that everyone, what they're manifesting in front of each other is just what they're manifesting when no one is looking at each other. If that agrees with each other, then it's a sign, inshaAllah, that will be a reason for tawfiq of the da'wah. And inshaAllah, the people of this masjid. But if you play games, and you think that it's all about what we manifest openly, as long as we come to the masjid, we smile. And also make sure that the person who's disseminating knowledge to you is saying the truth and he doesn't care about whether people like him or not. But what he's saying is the truth. For that da'i is a person that truly wants good for his community. Not a da'i that quotes adillah and he keeps it general just to keep everybody, we all hunky-dory, we're all good, and it's all about a facade that we're all good as long as I start mentioning, as long as you don't mention certain things that we're doing behind the scenes. No, he's not afraid of what's going to say what you do behind the scenes. Because, inshallah, that will be a medicine and a remedy for diseases of the hearts. So it can help you be prepared for when you meet Allah. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. One meeting Allah and his heart is intact. And inshallah, one day when you die, especially when the angels come and interrogating all of us, you'll be like, whoo, glad so-and-so told us the medicine that I needed to get myself together before I now ended up in this predicament. So we'll stop here, inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.